Hi, so I made the video day one at Karnak. It's something like it was a monster. It was 45 minutes long, so I've decided to chop it up into three. So this is day one, part A, and it's going to take you from the outside to the first three pylons. Now, have a look at the map. We're going to start at A, point A, and we're going to work our way through the main axis of the temple, and we're going to finish at the southern gates where it's got AA. So that's the plan. Now, before we get to the first pylon, I want you to have a look at the key here. So you've got the key, which is highlighted. That was built by Ramesses I. His name's down there. You can walk down there, and you can walk down there and see his name, and also a picture of him. 99% of people who go to Karnak don't even know it's there. Now, on the key itself, this whole structure was originally built by Ramesses I, but Ramesses II refurbished it. So during the 19th dynasty, it was eroding and it was refurbished by Ramesses II. Before we go down into the Sphinx alleyway, located at B is a well which was used to provide water for the offerings and rituals during the Feast of Opet and the Feast of the Valley. So that's what structure B is. So we're going to go down, and you've got this alleyway of sphinxes. These are the guardians of the temple. The ram is associated to Amun-Ra. This is the precinct of Amun-Ra that we're going into. It has to be guarded. So there's two sort of ideas about a temple. A temple is a physical structure for people to identify their faith in the king of the gods, Amun-Ra, to bring order to their civilization. The other form of this temple is the spiritual form. It represents creation, and inside is stability and order and marks, a balance, and outside is chaos. So if we look at the plan again, where it's marked up as L, that's where I think Amenhotep I built the first precinct of Amun in mud bricks. And then Ramesses I came along, his son, and started converting some of these places into stone. So that's where the original precinct of Amun was. And if you look to the plan of Montu, it's in line with the precinct of Montu. So in the 12th dynasty, this was a brand new deity being located in the town of Waset, which was the Greeks called Thebes, which today is called Luxor. Now, one more bit of information about the key before we move off it is that Penjum I from the 25th dynasty usurped it from Ramesses II. So the first pylon, which is at C, was built by Nectanebo in the 30th dynasty. Unfortunately, he didn't live long enough for the project to be finished, but it's not a bad example of a pylon. You know, it's a fortress to keep chaos out. The pylon is 40 meters high, it's 113 meters wide, and it's 15 meters thick. The surrounding wall, mud brick wall, which goes around Karnak, was built by, well, it was refurbished by Nectanebo during the 30th dynasty. So you can imagine mud bricks survives really well in the hot heat of Egypt. So it's Nile mud mixed with chaff. The chaff has got carbon in it, binds it all together, makes it rock hard. But after, 1,000 years, well, in this case, around about 900 years, when that first wall was built, needs repair, needs maintaining. Nectanebo did that. When you get an opportunity to walk round the temple, which I hope you do, it's got this wavy pattern to it, and we think that represents the waters of chaos. So the temple, as you go into the temple, the floor comes up and the ceiling comes down to give you that that impression that there's something special happening in here. It's very graduated as you get further deeper inside the temple, because where the Holy of Holies is supposed to be is where the primeval mound of creation came out, and the mythical bird from the east laid the egg on the mound, and the sun god Ra came from the egg. So that's why it rises, the floor level rises and the ceiling comes down, because it's mystical, it's magical. So I'm going to pass through the first pylon, and right behind us in the first pylon you're going to see a pile of bricks, okay, up against the wall. Well, it's not a pile of bricks, it's mud bricks, and they use those mud bricks to help build the first pylon. So they didn't have nice metal scaffolding like us, and wood was expensive, so they used mud bricks to get themselves up onto these high places. So we're through the first pylon, and on the map you can see there's a shrine here, way station, marked up as D. This was the one that was built by Seti II in the 19th dynasty. And remember what way stations are for. The bark of Amun is going to go round this open court, and it's going to stop, and it's going to make proclamations which become law. So people, rich Egyptians, would come here hoping that they would get some proclamation or some question answered. Now the priests are carrying that thing round all day, and they need a rest, and that's what these way stations are. So the way station is when the priests go in, there would have been a block of stone to put the wooden bark and shrine on, and they could have a rest, do a bit of chanting, and then come back out earning money again. So that's what this is. It's a business, isn't it? All religions are about business. So here we have a resting point for the priests. So on the left, standing in front of it, is the bark for the shrine for the goddess Mut, and she is the wife of Amun-Ra. So her bark, if it came down to visit the temple, this is where the priests would take their rest. In the centre is Amun-Ra, so his bark shrine is going to be working this area, generating income. Okay. That's the truth, that's what religion's about. It's about incomes and generating wealth, and when they needed a rest they'd pop themselves in there. And then if on special occasions, if the bark of Khonsu visited his father, and Khonsu was the son of Mut and Amun-Ra, then on the right hand side that one is for the bark of Khonsu. So Nectanebo builds the first pylon in stone, but he probably replaced a mud brick pylon which originally was there. So going back to the Old Kingdom times, all temples are made out of mud bricks. Only the Holy of Holies would be made out of stone. And what temples relied on was benefactors, kings, rich nobles to provide statues and stone structures, replaced the old mud brick ones. 12th dynasty, Senusret I took over the responsibility of maintaining the temples, and from that time onwards kings started replacing these mud brick structures with stone structures. So Nectanebo was replacing a mud brick first pylon which originally was there. Now remember, from the main map, which we'll have a look at now, L is where the original precinct of Amun-Ra was. So it's growing outwards towards this first pylon. All the stone structures, all the mud brick structures at L have been replaced, and it's growing outwards along the central axis. Way stations. Well, located at E on the map, which you can see right there, is the way station of Ramesses III. So he took his name, his throne name, from Ramesses II. He tried to replicate the greatness that Ramesses II brought to the nation. So he didn't build a small way station, he built a small temple, which is here, with statues on the outside of each doorway and engaged statues inside of himself, and then a big area for the barks for the priests carrying the barks to take a rest. So that's Ramesses III, he outdoes everyone. Now on the map, which we'll have a look at again, points F and H, that's best left to day 2. We don't want to start veering off the central axis, because otherwise when you're there at Karnak, you can get very, very confused very quickly. So it's best just to, I'm going to cover that in the day 2 of Karnak. Now point G is the ruined Kiosk of Takara of the 25th dynasty. Remember, he was the Kushite king who used Amun, because the Kushites had been worshipping Amun in Kush from the 19th dynasty, and here he is bringing stability back to Egypt. Now if you look around the open court here, these round sphinxes, which are up against the pillars around the open court, originally they were part of an avenue. So when Takara built this kiosk, he had them moved away. He wanted to make an impact, that he was devoted to Amun-Ra, and he wanted his impact felt at the temple of Karnak. So it was during that time that they were broken up from being an avenue of sphinxes and pushed away. That also suggests that this open court was built by someone as well. Well, it was most probably Nectanebo who built the open court. Now point H on the map is the second pylon. No doubt it was started by Amenhotep III of the 18th dynasty, and it was completed by Horemheb. Horemheb was the last ruler of the 18th dynasty, and he passed the kingship on to one of his favourite generals, Ramesses I. So it was probably started by Amenhotep III, but finished by Horemheb. Note the 2 colossal statues of Ramesses II. He probably had these commissioned when he was in his 70s. Look how young he is.